It all began when Jonathan Lamb and his wife Susie stepped forward with explosive claims that sent shockwaves through the Christian broadcasting world. They accused Daystar co-founder Joni Lamb of orchestrating a series of cover-ups, from financial irregularities in funds allegedly funneled through opaque channels to a troubling pattern of remarriage rhetoric that contradicted the network's own teachings. Perhaps the most disturbing accusation was that Joni and Daystar concealed an incident involving their own daughter, affectionately known as Baby Lamb. According to Jonathan and Susie, after their daughter disclosed inappropriate touching by a family associate named Pete, Daystar leadership allegedly shut down an internal investigation and discouraged police involvement. Beyond that, they pointed to lavish expenditures on private jets, questionable property deals, and internal messages that suggested staff were being pressured into silence. The Lambs didn't just raise concerns about money. They claimed the network had twisted biblical teachings, condemning divorce publicly while quietly permitting it behind the scenes. They painted a picture of an organization controlling both theology and finances, regardless of the human cost. Some dismissed the Lambs' statements as nothing more than a family feud, but others, viewers, donors, and fellow believers, began to question the integrity of a ministry that once prided itself on uncompromising holiness. The fallout was swift. Hashtags like Drinarch exposed Daystar and Chash Justice for Baby Lamb began trending on social media. Christian news outlets scrambled to verify the claims. Almost immediately after their public interview, Daystar's board held a closed meeting and voted to suspend Jonathan from all ministry roles, citing conduct unbecoming and policy violations. Sources say he was summoned to the network's Fort Worth headquarters, given a short statement, and escorted off the premises. The network claimed this was necessary to preserve unity, but insiders saw it as retaliation. Jonathan's removal only deepened concerns that the ministry was punishing whistleblowers rather than addressing wrongdoing. Staffers who had quietly supported Jonathan felt renewed pressure to fall in line. One longtime producer remarked that Jonathan was simply doing what any conscientious believer should do, calling out sin and demanding accountability. Daystar, however, framed his removal as a step toward doctrinal purity. Soon after, Susie Lamb also left the network, citing emotional distress and an unwillingness to work in a culture that punished vulnerability. Their departure sent a clear message: challenge the leadership and you lose your place at the table. The culture at Daystar, once seen as a bastion of holiness, now appeared fortified by fear and privilege, where only blind loyalty guaranteed protection. Soon another insider stepped forward. Denise Boggs, a long-trusted advisor to the late Marcus Lamb, chose to break her silence. Known for her prophetic voice and spiritual counsel, Denise had once worked behind the scenes offering guidance. Now she spoke out publicly, revealing what she called a pattern of selective censorship and spiritual manipulation. She released recorded testimonials, collected over years, that chronicled concerns about the network's spiritual direction and financial choices. Denise recalled moments when decisions seemed more about self-preservation than divine guidance. At one key boardroom meeting, she warned leadership about financial improprieties, funds reallocated without oversight, donations redirected quietly, and inflated budgets lacking transparency. Her concerns were met with empty reassurances. A senior executive allegedly told her, "It's time to circle the wagons. We can't afford public dissent." When she refused to stay quiet, she was pressured to fall in line or face consequences. Denise also spoke about her efforts to push for a proper investigation into the allegations made by Jonathan and Susie. She urged leadership to bring in child protection experts and open the process to independent oversight. Her suggestions were dismissed as unnecessary and risky to the network's image. In one tense exchange, she was told, "Your gift is valuable, but not at the expense of unity. Speak no more on this matter." That was the final straw. Denise's audio recordings began to circulate online, first as leaked clips and later as a full video. The effect was immediate. Prominent pastors and speakers who had long been affiliated with Daystar began reevaluating their partnerships. Within 2 days, several announced their departure. One well-known televangelist shared, "With a heavy heart, I must announce that my broadcast will no longer air on Daystar. A ministry that once championed transparency now hides behind closed doors. I can't be a part of that." A popular worship leader also stepped away. She admitted that she felt guilt every time she sang on a stage that, behind the scenes, silenced prophetic voices. "How can I sing of freedom," she asked, "when the truth is suppressed?" Renowned conference speakers also followed suit. Their exit statements varied in tone, but the message was clear. Daystar's governance no longer reflected the spiritual integrity they once believed in. One wrote, "I stand with those who choose truth over convenience, even if it costs me airtime." These mass exits shook the network. Programming gaps had to be filled with reruns or lesser-known figures, but the real damage was reputational. Donors began calling, demanding explanations and threatening to withdraw support unless the allegations were addressed. Viewers lamented that the network they trusted now seemed more concerned with protecting personalities than upholding faith principles. Media analysts noted that Denise's revelations and the subsequent exodus were part of a broader shift. Faith audiences today demand transparency and alignment with biblical values. When ministries appear to cover up abuse or mishandle funds, trust evaporates. Then came the next shock. A private letter from J.W. to the Colleyville Police Department confirmed that Pete had, in fact, acted inappropriately with baby Lamb. This letter provided the testimony needed to reopen the stalled investigation, putting Daystar's alleged cover-up under direct legal scrutiny. What began as a family conflict had grown into a full-blown scandal. Insider testimony, leaked documents, and official letters revealed a culture of secrecy, retaliation, and spiritual manipulation. Daystar now stands at a crossroads. Will its leadership welcome independent investigation and rebuild credibility through transparency? Or will it continue circling the wagons, risking even more erosion from within? One thing is certain, the days of unchallenged authority are over. As whistleblowers like Jonathan and Denise have shown, the spirit of accountability cannot be silenced, especially when the truth of God is on the line.